Right from the floor of PDAC in Toronto, I'm Lindsay Melchuk, and sitting with me is David Rhodes, the executive chairman of Empress Royalties. This is a company that's quietly building one of the most dynamic royalty portfolios in the world, unlocking value on gold and critical metal projects that most investors haven't even noticed yet. David is a master at spotting opportunities others overlook, and today we're pulling back that curtain to see exactly how he does it. David, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for the great introduction.
Okay, well, my job's done, so I'm out. You can just take this seat, take the hot seat now. Now, tell me, how's the show been for you? Because this is wow, it's busy here, but how are you seeing it?
The same. I mean, all-time high gold prices, silver is following suit. It's a great market to be in.
Right.
We set up Empress 6 years ago, and we picked precious metals as our dedicated metals, and what a great success. Making a lot of money as a company. So now, great times.
Empress Royalty is very, very well known. However, we do have some new audience members here. So why don't you just give us just a little highlight of what it is that you guys actually do?
So the company was set up 6 years ago purely to invest in precious metals, so gold and silver. So we invest the company's money into gold mines and silver mines, and we get a return of either dollars or the actual metal, which is a stream came from that. So we have 4 investments, and those investments are providing us with gold and silver, plus the dollars from the revenue from those mines. And streams and royalties are long-term investments. So we invest money and we get the return over 10 or 15 years, the life of the mine.
Wow. So you have actually seen so much of that market go down, go up, go down or up. Now you see it go up. From your point of view, do you think it's going to then correct and level out? Or what do you think gold, we'll say gold right now. What do you think that's?
Yeah, so we are very bullish on gold. And we have been, thus setting up the company to invest in gold mines. I see gold hitting 6,000 end of this year, beginning of next year. And then by 2030, it should be $15,000. And that's driven by 2 key factors. One is the too much dollars in the world. You know, the US debt is increasing. The only way to get rid of the debt is reducing exchange rates, so a weakening dollar in that sense. And interest rates staying low because they've got to be able to pay for the debt they have. So low interest rates, weakening dollar, fantastic for gold.
So if we push gold aside, because it is always going to be known as that safe haven, there are other critical minerals, critical metals out there that often get overlooked. And my question around that is, what's your filter of that?
The critical metals, obviously at the moment, we see a lot of the talk about critical metals, and obviously the US government's been very strong about having its own basket, its own supply and store of critical metals. So I think there'll be a big driver in critical metals to get that, store of those metals for the US. The problem is it takes a long time to build a mine. So these large mines are 3 to 4 years just to get into production. So that's a long time before those metals are going to be actually be in production and supplying that demand the US government needs. So the other factor is there is one country out there that controls those metals. So they can change the price just like that, increase it, reduce it, wherever they want. So they control the market. So they can make a certain metal totally unprofitable for investors overnight if they wanted to.
That much power.
That much power.
So as you were sitting there talking about companies, because I'm sure there are, endless amount of companies out there that are like, okay, I want to learn more. I want to work with Empress. How do you know when to walk away? How do you vet them?
So the key thing is obviously the team we have together worked in this business as a team historically, and that's why we brought them together. But the experience on the team is 20, 25 years plus, most people in it. So we have a knowledge of how to invest.
Okay.
What are the right things to invest in? And obviously we're only doing precious metals here, not critical metals as a company. So we've invested billions over the years in precious metal companies. So we know the good management, the good regions, what a mine should look like, how it should operate, how it should be managed. And that goes on the environmental and social side as well as the investment side. So we have that expertise. And that's what we bring to Empress, a great expertise in how to invest money in good companies that then provide a great return for Empress.
What would you say to our audience when they're looking at a company or when they're, looking at your portfolio too? I'm sure that you've vetted it all, but out there, what would you say would be one red flag? And then opposite to that, what would you say would be one green flag?
So one of our big investors is Rick Rule.
course.
So if you go on Rick Rule's website, you'll get much more educated and sophisticated investment advice because he's been doing a little bit longer than me.
Just maybe a little bit. We had him on earlier today.
Okay, yeah, and we have a little battle between I predict the gold price and he goes, I'm too sensible to predict the gold price. So he does slap me down for trying to predict it. But no, as he says, he's younger, so he can do that. So I take that as a compliment.
Okay.
So one easy, positive is how much equity do the management and board have in the company. So if you have a lot of your wealth, personal wealth in a company, you're going to look after it more. It's just human nature in that sense. So with Empress, the board and management, and obviously my business, we're heavily invested. And we have some very key investors like Rick Rule in our business and Sprott and those kind of guys in our business. So we're protecting that because we've got some key partners as well as our own money in the business. So that's a key positive when you look at a company, how much risk money is on the table from that side. On the red flag, I think for a company like Empress, it really is when you see deals being done that don't make sense. Is it just to make some noise that they're investing? Does it really fit their criteria? Should they, for example, if Empress suddenly said, we're doing copper.
Right.
We've been saying we're only precious metal and suddenly do a copper deal.
Okay.
Why are we doing that? Okay. What's the logic? Are we doing it just because we can't find any other deals to do? So we're going out of our, agreed strategy. That would be a red flag to me because it doesn't fit our investment criteria.
Okay.
So why are we doing that? A simple red flag in that sense.
Absolutely. Without going into too much more detail, that's a pretty great definition right there on what to look out for. Let's flip over to what's actually moving the markets right now. I mean, some assets, they're a definite surprise. So maybe you can give us a little bit of insight what could actually move the stock when, working with you or outside of you, what's actually moving the stock of it that even maybe you're surprised by.
Yeah. So obviously gold prices.
Okay.
And none of us predicted 5,000 gold, although it's been very favorable, obviously, for Empress. And obviously we have a big silver stream as well. So silver is a big factor in our business. So silver and gold prices moving up, which we predict they will do, is a big plus for us. Additionally, we have two assets in our portfolio that are in ramp-up phase. What I mean is they're increasing their production. So last year, the results just come out this year, but for last year, we did $17 million of revenue, double the year before. These two assets that are in ramp-up phase, that are growing and providing us more revenue, we should see at least 7,000 GEOs, which is gold equivalent ounces this year. So 7,000 of those times by, some of it's silver, some of it's, but we equated into gold. By the gold price, we should give you a rough revenue we should be doing this year. So once again, substantial growth in our revenue, just from our existing asset base.
That's right.
Obviously, all the deals we have are cash flow producing. Yep. They're making us money. We're a cash flow producing company. Our treasury is building up.
Right.
And that means we can reinvest that. So we're looking this year to reinvest our shareholders' money for more deals, continue our growth pattern. So we have a growth model here, which is based not just on gold and silver prices, but existing assets growing as well as doing new deals.
David, I want to push that a little bit further. You just put your new results out, your financial results. Tell us all about it.
Hey, doubled our revenue from last year, which is a great story to say.
Doubled
and fingers crossed, if the world stays as it is, or improves as we think it might do on the metal price side, we're hoping to more than exceed that this year with our development side. And the cuteness of a royalty model is its low G&A.
Okay.
Really, our true cost is just staff. And we don't have and you don't need that many staff. You can outsource a lot of the work. Additionally, Endeavour Financial, the company that I'm managing director of, we're a big shareholder, and we provide a lot of technical and skill sets to the team at Empress to keep that G&A low as well, because we're protecting our equity investment, ensuring that gets the maximum value from the share price increase, as well as also we put our name to this company. Endeavour Financial is a founding father. We have total, our name is on the line if this company is not successful. So we put all our resources behind it to make it a success. And as you can see, we're slowly making that share price, that success of the company shown in the marketplace by our results.
Right. So, we just came back from South Africa. That was a really great trip there. And what we're seeing is there's so many more regions that are really starting to step into the spotlight. We see it right now with Africa. from your point of view, are you seeing other regions that were maybe cast in the shadows that are slowly starting to creep in as well, not just Africa?
It's a good question. We are seeing a few other regions, but I still think if you look at the resource base, obviously there's the North America, South America, Australia, there's Australia, and then Africa. The Asian parts of the world, the Philippines, those kind of countries, they have it, but we're not seeing the investment going into those countries they expect. Purely because there's still a lot of opportunity out there. I mean, Scandinavia, there's always some investment in Scandinavia, but it's quite difficult to get permitting in that part of the world. So money really goes where the best opportunities are, and there's still a lot of opportunity in Africa.
Absolutely.
Although the West Africa is obviously with the military coups and some of the issues there is not as attractive, but other parts are.
Right.
And as you know, we have an investment in Mozambique and also in South Africa, which has been very successful for us.
Absolutely.
We do a lot of business in Africa, as in historically as mining professionals. So we understand Africa and we're happy to transact where the risks are suitable for Empress.
Of course. And a lot of people just sort of overlook it because there's just not enough education around it. So coming to a conference like One-to-One in Africa, like in Daba, you really get a sense of what it actually looks like over there. You really get a sense to be able to come and ask the questions that you need and gain that confidence. And I think this year, that's what that did. It brought investors there. Enough information was given to at least get them to go, let me learn more.
And then I've been working in Africa over 25 years. So in some very interesting places and some beautiful and very mining friendly places versus the opposite in some cases. And people have a view that Africa, they don't do it the same way as tier one countries. Right. We do it exactly the same one. We do the same environmental studies, the same work, the same baseline studies on the environmental, social side. There's no shortcuts. It's all World Bank accredited principle, just as you do in a tier one. The difference is the government process to agree it takes you 12 months versus could be 10 years in Canada. So if you're an investor looking to invest and do you want 10 years of capital just to keep the business alive until you get permits, or a year, 18 months before you can start developing the asset? And also you do a lot more. Your money, in theory, adds a lot more value to a country in Africa, which needs the dollars, needs employment, rather than Canada, which has a lot of the attributes already that these countries don't have.
Well, David, my next panel, you're definitely going to be called to be on it, so stay tuned.
Okay, thank you for that.
Absolutely, and thank you for joining us. We're going to wrap it there, but we'll have you back for sure and really dive deep.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Again, that was David Rhodes, Executive Chairman of Empress Royalties. You can find them trading on the venture under EMPR and on the OTCQX under EMPYF. Go over and explore more about their story, empressroyalty.com. For investors, this is a company quietly stacking royalties that could deliver big surprises. And for those paying attention, it's a chance to be part of a story that's only getting started. I'm Lindsay Melchick with Appeton Media right here at PDAC. We will see you next time.